She said it with a smile, like it was nothing. Thank you for funding my studies. Now you can disappear. My name is Paul, 47 years old. Made my money in commercial real estate development across Phoenix, Arizona. $12 million in liquid assets. Another few million tied up in properties and investments. Spent the last 6 years watching my wife, Jennifer, work her way through law school. Paid every tuition bill, every textbook, every bar prep course. Supported her when she said she needed to focus on her studies instead of contributing financially. I believed in her. Thought we were building something together. I was wrong. The day she passed the bar exam, she came home late. I had dinner waiting. Opened a bottle of wine I had been saving for the occasion. She walked in wearing her professional suit, hair pulled back, carrying her briefcase like it was a weapon. I stood up to congratulate her. She looked at me like I was a stranger. "We need to talk," she said. I knew that tone. Had heard it in business meetings right before someone tried to screw me over. But this was my wife, the woman I had been married to for 14 years. The woman who used to fall asleep on my shoulder watching movies. The woman who cried in my arms when her father died. She sat down across from me, did not touch the wine, did not smile, just pulled out a manila folder from her briefcase and slid it across the table. "Divorce papers," she said. "I filed them this afternoon." I stared at the folder, did not open it, just looked at her face, trying to find something I recognized, some hint of the person I thought I knew. "You filed for divorce the same day you became an attorney," I said. "That's right." She leaned back in her chair, crossed her arms. "I wanted to wait until I had the credentials. Didn't want you thinking you could push me around with expensive lawyers." "Push you around? You know what I mean. You have money. I needed to level the playing field." She shrugged. "And honestly, Paul, we both know this marriage has been over for years. I just needed to finish school first." I kept my voice calm. "So you used me. I prefer to think of it as a mutually beneficial arrangement. You got a wife, I got an education. Now we both move on. And my $12 million? She smiled then. Actually smiled. "Community property state, Paul. Arizona is very clear about that. Half of everything acquired during the marriage is mine. Your little real estate empire? Built while we were married. That means I'm entitled to $6 million, minimum." I looked at her hands. She was not wearing her wedding ring anymore. Probably took it off the moment she walked out of the courthouse. "You have this all figured out," I said. "I do. Spent the last year researching it. Talked to some colleagues at the firm where I just got hired. They're very good. Very thorough." She tapped the folder. "You'll find everything in there, asset division, spousal support calculations. It's all very fair." "Fair. By legal standards, yes. You should probably get your own attorney, someone competent. This is going to be complicated." I opened the wine. Poured myself a glass. Did not offer her any. She watched me with that same cold smile, like she had already won, like I was just some obstacle she had finally overcome. "When did you decide this?" I asked. "Does it matter?" "It does to me." She sighed, checked her watch. 3 years ago, maybe 4. I was in my second year of law school. Realized I didn't need you anymore, or rather, realized I wouldn't need you once I had my degree. But I had already invested so much time. Dropping out would have been wasteful. So I stayed. Finished. Now here we are. 3 years. She had been planning this for 3 years. Living in my house, sleeping in my bed, pretending everything was fine while she calculated how to take half of everything I had built. "You could have just talked to me," I said. "And said what? That I fell out of love with you? That I found you boring? That I wanted a different life?" She stood up, picked up her briefcase. "Actions speak louder than words, Paul. This is me speaking very clearly." She walked toward the door, stopped, turned back. "Oh, and one more thing. I'm moving in with someone from the firm, another attorney. We've been seeing each other for about 8 months. Just thought you should know. Transparency and all that." Then she left. I sat there with my wine, listened to her car pull out of the driveway, looked at the divorce papers on the table, did not open them. Not yet, because I already knew what was inside. I had known for 6 months. That was when I found the emails on her laptop. She had left it open one night. I was not snooping, just closed it so she would not complain about the battery dying. Saw a message notification pop up from someone named Kyle, talking about legal strategies, asset protection, how to maximize her share in a divorce. I read everything that night, every email, every text message she had backed up to her cloud storage. Saw the affair with Kyle, saw the conversations with other attorneys about how to handle a high net worth divorce, saw her planning, her timeline, her strategy, and I started planning too, quietly, carefully, without telling anyone. Because if Jennifer thought she was the only one who could play the long game, she was about to learn a very expensive lesson. The first thing I did was call my oldest friend, not for advice, for a referral. His name was Gregory. We grew up together in Tucson. He moved to Los Angeles 15 years ago, became a partner at one of the top litigation firms in California, specialized in complex divorces for wealthy clients, celebrities, business owners, people who had a lot to lose and needed someone who knew how to protect it. I called him the morning after I found Jennifer's emails, told him everything. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. "You still there?" I asked. "Yeah, just thinking." He paused. "Paul, if what you're telling me is accurate, your wife is about to walk into a very ugly fight, and if you want to win it, you need to start preparing now, not when she files. Now, what do I need to do? First, do not confront her. Do not let her know you're aware of anything. Keep playing the supportive husband. Let her think she has the upper hand." He paused again. "Second, you need to document everything. Every asset, every transaction, every piece of property. I'm talking forensic level detail. And third, you need to move money. Carefully, legally. But you need to restructure your assets in a way that protects you when this goes to court. How do I do that without her noticing? You hire people who know what they're doing. I'll send you some names. Attorneys in Arizona who specialize in this. Financial advisors who can help with asset protection. You're going to build a team, and you're going to do it quietly." That was 6 months ago. Since then, I had done exactly what Gregory told me. Hired 3 different attorneys, all highly recommended, all experienced in high net worth divorces, all aware that Jennifer was planning to file as soon as she passed the bar. I met with them separately, gave each of them pieces of the puzzle. Wanted to make sure I had multiple perspectives, multiple strategies, because Jennifer was smart, and she had colleagues at her firm who were just as smart. I needed to be smarter. The first attorney I hired was a woman named Patricia, mid-50s, sharp as hell, specialized in asset tracing and valuation. She spent weeks going through my financial records, every property I owned, every business investment, every bank account. She identified what was considered community property under Arizona law and what could be classified as separate property, premarital assets, inheritances, gifts from family members. Turned out I had more separate property than I realized. My grandfather left me $200,000 when he died 8 years ago. I used that money as seed capital for a real estate deal that eventually grew into a $3 million portfolio. Patricia argued that those properties could be considered separate property because they originated from an inheritance. Arizona law was murky on this, but it was worth fighting for. The second attorney I hired was a man named Douglas, early 60s. Looked like someone's grandfather, but argued like a prosecutor. He specialized in spousal support and income calculations. His job was to minimize what I would owe Jennifer in alimony. Douglas dug into Jennifer's employment history, her job offers, her starting salary at the law firm. Turned out she was making $90,000 a year, not bad for a first-year attorney. Douglas argued that she had the capacity to support herself and did not need long-term spousal support. He also pointed out that she had been in school by choice, not because of any disability or obligation. She chose to go to law school. I supported her. That did not mean I owed her a lifetime of payments. The third attorney I hired was a younger guy named Elliot, mid-30s, former prosecutor turned family law specialist. His job was strategy. He looked at Jennifer's case from every angle, anticipated her arguments, prepared counter-arguments, identified weaknesses in her approach. Elliot was the one who told me to keep living normally, keep paying the bills, keep acting like nothing was wrong. Because if Jennifer thought I suspected anything, she might change her strategy, file earlier, move money around before I could protect it. I needed her to think she had the element of surprise. So I played the part. Supportive husband, proud of her accomplishments, excited about her new career. I even threw her a small party after she passed the bar exam. Invited some of her classmates, her colleagues from the firm, including Kyle. He showed up in an expensive suit, shook my hand, smiled, complimented the house, told me how lucky I was to have such a talented wife. I smiled back, poured him a drink, talked about real estate trends in Phoenix, never let on that I knew he was sleeping with my wife. Jennifer watched us talk, looked nervous for a moment, then relaxed when she realized I had no idea. Or at least that was what she thought. After the party, she thanked me, said it meant a lot that I supported her. I told her I was proud of her, that I always believed in her. She kissed me on the cheek, then went upstairs to pack a bag for a weekend trip with her study group. At least that was what she told me. I knew she was going to San Diego with Kyle. I let her go, waved goodbye, then called Patricia and told her to accelerate the asset documentation. We were running out of time. Over the next few months, I quietly restructured my finances, transferred certain assets into trusts, moved money into accounts that were harder to trace, invested in properties under business entities that Jennifer had no knowledge of. All legal, all documented, all designed to minimize what she could claim in court. I also started documenting her behavior, her absences, her late nights at the office, her trips with Kyle. I hired a private investigator, not to spy, just to create a record, proof that she had been having an affair, proof that she had been planning this divorce while still living off my money. Arizona was a no-fault divorce state. Her affair would not matter legally, but it would matter to a judge when determining spousal support. Judges did not like dishonesty, and Jennifer had been very dishonest. By the time she walked through the door with those divorce papers, I was ready. I had a legal team in place. I had financial records organized. I had a strategy mapped out. She thought she was ambushing me. She had no idea I had been preparing for this moment for 6 months. The day after Jennifer moved out, I called Patricia, told her the papers had been filed. She told me to bring them to her office immediately. I drove across Phoenix. Patricia's office was in a high-rise downtown, glass and steel. Expensive. The kind of place that told you she did not lose cases. I walked in with the divorce papers. She read through them while I sat across from her desk. She did not say anything for a long time. Just flipped pages, made notes, highlighted sections. Finally, she looked up. "She's going after everything," Patricia said. I figured. "No, I mean everything. She wants half of all real estate holdings, half of all investment accounts, half of your business interests. And she's asking for 3 years of spousal support at $5,000 a month." I did the math in my head. That was $180,000 in spousal support alone, plus $6 million in asset division. Jennifer was trying to walk away with more than $6 million total. "Can she get it?" I asked. "Depends. If we go to trial and you have a bad day, maybe. But we're not going to let that happen." Patricia leaned back in her chair. "Here's what we're going to do. First, we respond with our own filing. We argue that a significant portion of your assets are separate property. We provide documentation showing the inheritance from your grandfather. We trace how that money was used. We establish a clear line between what you owned before the marriage and what was built during it. Will that work?" It's a strong argument. Arizona law allows for separate property claims if you can prove the source of the funds and show that they were not commingled with community assets. We have bank records, we have investment statements. We can make the case. What about spousal support? That's where Douglas comes in. He's already drafted a response arguing that Jennifer has a professional degree and a high-paying job. She doesn't need your money. She chose to go to law school. You supported her. That was generous, but it doesn't entitle her to indefinite payments. I nodded. What about the affair? Patricia smiled. Thin, cold. We're going to bury her with that. Arizona is no fault, but judges still consider conduct when making decisions about support and asset division. If we can show that Jennifer was planning this divorce while pretending to be a loving wife, while having an affair with a colleague, while spending your money on her education with no intention of staying married, it's going to look very bad for her. So we go to war. We go to war, but we do it smart. We file our response. We request full financial disclosure from her. We depose her. We depose Kyle. We make this as painful and expensive as possible. Eventually, she'll realize that fighting is going to cost her more than it's worth. Then we settle. On our terms. I left Patricia's office feeling better. Not good, but better. Because I had a plan. And I had people who knew what they were doing. Over the next 2 weeks, my legal team filed a comprehensive response to Jennifer's divorce petition. We disputed her asset valuations. We challenged her claims about community property. We provided documentation showing that a significant portion of my wealth was separate property. We also filed a motion requesting full financial disclosure from Jennifer, her bank accounts, her credit card statements, her employment records, everything. Jennifer did not like that. She called me 3 days after we filed. First time we had spoken since she moved out. "What the hell are you doing?" she said. "Protecting myself. You hired lawyers. You're a lawyer. Did you think I was going to represent myself?" She was quiet for a moment. I could hear her breathing, trying to control her anger. "You don't need 3 attorneys, Paul. This is a straightforward divorce. We divide assets. We move on. There's no reason to make this complicated. You made it complicated when you filed for divorce the same day you became an attorney. You made it complicated when you started planning this 3 years ago. You made it complicated when you had an affair with Kyle while I was paying for your education." Silence. Then, "You knew." I knew. For how long? Long enough. I could hear her breathing faster now. Panic. Realizing that I was not the naive husband she thought I was. Realizing that I had been preparing, that I had my own plan. "This doesn't change anything," she said. "Arizona is a community property state. You can't hide assets. I'll get my share. Maybe. Or maybe you'll spend the next 2 years fighting me in court, spending money on attorneys, losing billable hours at your new job, watching your reputation get shredded when we put Kyle on the stand and ask him about your affair. Watching a judge hear about how you used me to fund your law school while planning to leave me the entire time." I paused. "You're a smart woman, Jennifer. Do the math. Is it worth it?" She hung up. 2 days later, her attorney called mine, asked if we were open to mediation. Patricia smiled when she told me. "She's rattled. Good. Let's keep the pressure on." We agreed to mediation, set a date for 3 weeks out. In the meantime, my legal team continued gathering information, deposing Jennifer, deposing Kyle, requesting documents, building a case that would make it very difficult for her to claim she deserved half of everything. The deposition with Kyle was particularly satisfying. Elliot handled it, asked very specific questions about when the affair started, how long it had been going on, whether Jennifer had discussed her divorce plans with him. Kyle tried to dodge, tried to claim attorney-client privilege, but Elliot was relentless. By the end of the deposition, Kyle had admitted that he and Jennifer had been sleeping together for over a year, that they had discussed her divorce plans, that he had given her advice on how to maximize her settlement. All on the record, all admissible in court if we needed it. But I was not planning to go to court. I was planning to settle. On my terms. Because Jennifer was about to realize that becoming an attorney did not make her untouchable. It just made her easier to outmaneuver. The mediation was scheduled for early morning. Neutral location, conference room in a downtown office building. Patricia, Douglas, and Elliot came with me. Jennifer showed up with 2 attorneys from her firm. Kyle was not there. Probably thought it would look bad. We sat across from each other, did not make eye contact. The mediator explained the process, asked us to remain civil, then turned to Jennifer's attorneys. "Let's start with your position," the mediator said. Jennifer's lead attorney was a woman named Vanessa, mid-40s, expensive suit, tried to look confident. "Our position is straightforward. Mr. Paul and our client were married for 14 years. During that time, he accumulated significant wealth through real estate development. Under Arizona law, all property acquired during the marriage is community property. Our client is entitled to 50% of those assets. Additionally, she requires spousal support while she establishes her career." Patricia did not wait for the mediator, just leaned forward. "Your client established her career on my client's dime. She went to law school using his money. She's now employed at a reputable firm making $90,000 a year. She doesn't need support. She needs to pay back what she took." Vanessa frowned. "That's not how the law works." "Actually, it is. Arizona law allows for reimbursement claims when one spouse uses community funds to obtain a professional degree. My client paid over $200,000 for your client's education. He's entitled to reimbursement. And since your client filed for divorce immediately after obtaining that degree, it's clear she never intended to contribute to the marriage financially. She used him. And now, she wants to profit from it." The room went quiet. Jennifer was staring at the table. Her attorneys were exchanging glances. The mediator cleared his throat. "Let's take a break," he said. The break lasted 20 minutes. Jennifer and her attorneys huddled in a separate conference room. I stayed where I was, drank water, listened to Patricia explain what would happen next. "They're panicking," she said. "The reimbursement claim caught them off guard. They thought we'd just argue about asset division. They didn't expect us to go after the money you spent on her education." "Can we actually get that back?" I asked. "Maybe. Arizona law is complicated on this, but the threat alone is enough. If we push the reimbursement claim, it ties up the case for months. More depositions, more discovery, more legal fees. Jennifer's firm will start questioning whether she's worth the trouble. Kyle will distance himself. She'll be fighting this alone." Douglas nodded. "And if we can prove she planned the divorce before finishing law school, we can argue she defrauded you, used your money under false pretenses. That opens up a whole other line of attack." Elliot was typing on his laptop, reviewing notes. "The Kyle deposition helps. He admitted she talked about the divorce while still in school. That's evidence of premeditation. Combined with the affair, it paints a picture of someone who manipulated her husband for financial gain." "Will a judge care?" I asked. "Yes," Patricia said. "Judges hate dishonesty, and they hate it even more when someone uses the legal system to profit from their own bad behavior. Jennifer thought being an attorney would give her an advantage. It's actually going to hurt her, because she should have known better." When we reconvened, Jennifer looked different, less confident. Her attorneys were quieter. Vanessa spoke first. "We've discussed your reimbursement claim. While we dispute the legal basis, we're willing to consider a compromise. What are you proposing?" Patricia slid a document across the table. "Here's our settlement offer. My client keeps all assets derived from his grandfather's inheritance. That includes 3 properties in Phoenix and 1 in Scottsdale, total value approximately $3 million. Of the remaining assets, we split them 60-40 in my client's favor. He gets 60%. Your client gets 40%. That comes to approximately $2.4 million for her." "That's less than half," Vanessa said. "That's more than she deserves. She contributed nothing financially to this marriage. She used my client's money to fund her education. She had an affair. She planned this divorce for years. Under those circumstances, she's lucky to get anything." Jennifer finally looked up. Her eyes were red, like she had been crying during the break. "I didn't contribute nothing. I was a wife. I supported him emotionally. I managed the household. You hired a housekeeper, Patricia said. With his money. You ate at restaurants. With his money. You went to school full-time while he worked 60-hour weeks to pay your tuition. That's not support. That's dependency. Jennifer's jaw tightened. She looked at Vanessa. I'm not taking this deal. Jennifer, Vanessa started. No, I worked hard for my degree. I earned it. I'm entitled to half. That's the law. Patricia closed her folder. Then we go to trial. And when we do, we'll put Kyle on the stand. We'll show the judge every email you sent planning this divorce, every text message where you called your husband boring, every credit card statement showing dinners with Kyle charged to your husband's account. We'll show the judge exactly who you are, and then we'll ask for reimbursement of every dollar spent on your education, all $200,000, plus interest. The room went silent. Jennifer was staring at Patricia, her face pale, her hands shaking slightly. Vanessa leaned over and whispered something to her. Jennifer shook her head. I need to think about it, Jennifer said. You have 48 hours, Patricia said. After that, the offer is off the table, and we file a motion to freeze all joint accounts pending trial. We left the mediation. I did not look back, just walked to the elevator with my attorneys. When the doors closed, Patricia smiled. She'll take it, she said. How do you know? Because she's scared, and she should be. If this goes to trial, she'll lose more than money. She'll lose her reputation. Kyle will dump her to protect himself. Her firm will quietly push her out. She'll be a first-year attorney with no clients and a scandal following her around. She's smart enough to see that. I hoped Patricia was right, because I was tired of fighting, tired of thinking about Jennifer, tired of reliving the betrayal every time I sat in a conference room talking about assets and spreadsheets and who owed what to whom. I just wanted it to be over. 2 days later, Jennifer's attorney called. She was accepting the settlement, with one condition. She wanted the house. The house was worth $1.2 million. It was in a nice neighborhood in Phoenix. 4 bedrooms, pool, attached garage. I bought it 10 years ago. Had lived there ever since. It was technically community property, but I had no emotional attachment to it. Not anymore. Too many memories of Jennifer, of the life I thought we were building together. She can have it, I told Patricia. You sure? It's a good property. You could rent it out, sell it later when the market's better. I don't want it, let her have it, I'll find somewhere else. Patricia drafted the final settlement agreement. Jennifer got the house. She got $2.4 million in cash and investments. She got her car. She got some furniture and personal items. I kept everything else. The properties from my grandfather's inheritance, the business interests, the remaining $8 million in assets. We signed the papers on a Thursday afternoon. Different rooms, different attorneys. I did not see Jennifer, did not want to, just signed my name, initialed every page, handed the pen back to Patricia. It's done, she said. That's it? That's it. You're officially divorced. The settlement is binding. She can't come back later asking for more. You're free. Free. The word felt strange. I had been married for 14 years, spent 6 months preparing for this divorce, and now it was over. Just like that. A few signatures and I was single again. I drove home, except it was not my home anymore. It was Jennifer's. I had 30 days to move out, pack up everything, find a new place, start over. I spent that night packing boxes, going through closets, deciding what to keep and what to throw away. Found old photos. Jennifer and me on vacation in San Diego. Jennifer and me at my sister's wedding. Jennifer and me laughing on the couch on a Sunday morning. We looked happy in those photos. Like we had a future. I threw them in the trash. Moving out took 2 weeks. I rented a storage unit for furniture I did not need immediately. Sold some things. Donated others. Found a temporary apartment in Scottsdale while I looked for something permanent. It was smaller than the house, 1 bedroom, but it was mine. No memories, no ghosts. My sister called the day I moved in. Her name was Valerie. She lived in Tucson with her husband and 2 kids. We talked once a week. She knew about the divorce, knew about Jennifer's affair, knew about the settlement. "How are you doing?" she asked. "Fine." "Paul, come on. You just went through a divorce. You're not fine." I sat on the couch in my new apartment, looked around at the boxes I had not unpacked yet. I'm better than I was. That's something. "Are you angry?" "Not anymore. I was, for a long time. But now I'm just tired." "Did you hear she's still with Kyle?" I had not heard that. Did not want to know. But Valerie kept talking. "One of my friends saw them at a restaurant last week. They looked cozy, like they're playing house now that you're out of the picture." I did not say anything, just listened. Valerie was quiet for a moment, then sighed. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have told you that. I just thought you should know. It's fine. I don't care what she does anymore." "Do you mean that?" "Yeah, I do." And I did. Because Jennifer was not my problem anymore. She got what she wanted, a new life, a new boyfriend, a house I paid for, money I earned. She won, or at least, she thought she did. What she did not know was that I still had one card left to play. 3 months before Jennifer filed for divorce, I met with a financial advisor named Howard. He specialized in asset protection for high net worth individuals. I told him about my situation, about Jennifer's plans, about my concerns. "You need to move money," Howard said, "legally, carefully, but you need to restructure your assets in a way that minimizes exposure." "How?" "Trusts, LLCs, offshore accounts. There are a dozen ways to protect wealth. The key is doing it before she files. Once the divorce papers are submitted, everything freezes. You can't move assets without court approval, so you have to act now." I spent the next 2 months working with Howard. We set up a series of trusts. Irrevocable trusts that held title to certain properties. I transferred ownership of 3 rental properties into these trusts. Legally, documented, but structured in a way that made them difficult to access in a divorce. We also set up an LLC, a holding company that owned several business interests. I transferred shares of that LLC into the trusts. Again, all legal, all documented, but complicated enough that Jennifer's attorneys would have a hard time tracing everything. The key was timing. I had to move these assets before Jennifer filed. Once she filed, any transfers would be scrutinized, potentially reversed. But I moved everything 3 months early. By the time she submitted her divorce petition, the assets were locked up, unreachable. Patricia knew about the trusts. She advised me on how to structure them, made sure everything was airtight. But we did not mention them during mediation, did not include them in the asset disclosure. Because technically, they were no longer my assets. They belonged to the trusts, and the trusts were set up for estate planning purposes, not to hide money. At least that was what the paperwork said. Jennifer's attorneys never found them. They did their discovery, requested financial statements, reviewed bank accounts, but they did not dig deep enough, did not look at the trusts, did not realize that a significant portion of my wealth was sitting in places they could not touch. By the time the settlement was finalized, I had successfully protected about $4 million in assets. Jennifer thought she was getting 40% of everything. She was actually getting 40% of what I let her see. I know that sounds dishonest. Maybe it is. But Jennifer spent 3 years planning to take half of everything I built. She lied to me, cheated on me, used me, and then tried to walk away with $6 million. So I protected myself. Did what I had to do. Made sure I did not lose everything I worked for just because I trusted the wrong person. The apartment in Scottsdale was temporary. I started looking for a permanent place. Something smaller. Something that felt like a fresh start. I found a condo in North Phoenix. 2 bedrooms, modern, clean. No history. I put an offer in. Got accepted. Scheduled a closing date for 6 weeks out. In the meantime, I focused on work. My real estate business had suffered during the divorce. I was distracted, missed opportunities, Let deals slip through my fingers. I needed to rebuild, prove to myself that I could still do this, that Jennifer had not broken me. I took on a new project, a commercial development in downtown Phoenix, mixed-use building, retail on the ground floor, offices above. It was ambitious, required a lot of capital. But I had the money, and I needed something to focus on, something to pour my energy into besides anger and regret. The project moved quickly. I hired a construction team, secured financing, worked with architects and city planners. It felt good to be building something again, something tangible, something that was mine. One afternoon, I was at the construction site reviewing blueprints when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. Paul speaking? Mr. Paul, this is Vanessa, Jennifer's attorney. I froze, felt my stomach tighten. What do you want? I need to talk to you. It's important, can we meet? We signed the settlement, there's nothing left to talk about. Please, just give me an hour. There's something you need to know. I did not want to meet with her, did not want to hear anything about Jennifer. But the tone in her voice was urgent, almost panicked. I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop near my office. Neutral ground. Vanessa showed up alone. No assistant, no files, just her.